Oh, I see. This one wasn't open before. Alright. Whoa. Hello, lady. I cannot cough. What? What? I also spot on the backside. That's cool. Uh, that's good coding, because otherwise it would have just instantly spawned you only, or it's supposed to be like that. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, see, it spawns you on the side where you're supposed to come out. That's good. This one isn't open yet. This is lovely. What? Ah. Hello, my child. Redbot? You're the developer of this game? Of course I am. I'm your father. Yes. Redbot made this world. This Redbot's baby. What a plot twist. What about the narrator? Redbot paid that guy. He charged way too much. Redbot will get someone else to do this for sequel. What happened to all the moral dilemmas in the game? I was expecting more of them. Redbot got rid of all of them. Players don't like complex choices. Players don't like to think. Redbot knows this. Many people are saying this. So Redbot deleted them. You bastard. I would have played that game. It's in the name after all. You lie, my child. You want to tap heads and jump around? More than that, I would fry your circuits. Stop making excuses. What are you afraid of? Perhaps Breadbot was scared. Scared that players wouldn't like what Breadbot made. It would be boring. So Breadbot replaced it all. And filled the game with gags and minigames instead. It's not too late, Breadbot. Yes, you may be right. Breadbot raised you well after all. There are a few dilemmas left that Breadbot didn't delete. Still in the game's code. Play them now, my child. Make Breadbot proud. Oh. I hope that my computer fan isn't being picked up by the mic. I think it might be a little bit. I hope it's not going to be bothersome. Teleport to dilemmas. It's a little bit hot, so. Why do I want to go here? I don't know. I'm a deviant. Still can't sprint. Ooh. Teleport to dilemmas. Oh, I see. Oh wait, this just loops around. What the hell? Okay, cool. In competitive games, players often use mind games to outthink their opponents. In this game, you can also use mind games, specifically the one where you convince yourself this was a good use of your time. Sounds pretty good. Ah, this wheel has beached on shore. Returning her to the ocean will be costly and difficult, and there's no guarantee that you will be successful. All the while, the whale will suffer. Your options are to attempt to rescue or euthanize her. Press I. This breed of whale is not endangered. You are the Coast Guard, and you have the authority to make this decision. But there's not one more. Okay. So, this is like a natural thing that kind of... Like, normally, like, I would expect it to be sick, because they typically, you know, don't want to go on shore, right? Typically, when they're on shore, they're already dead, or they're really sick. Returning her to the ocean will be costly and difficult. I mean, we can't even do that yet. But we have to bring her to some place where they can be hot, which I guess that would be bringing her back to the ocean. But if I'm a Coast Guard, why would I want to, like, it would make the most sense that you want to rescue it, especially if you, again, especially if you're a Coast Guard, right? And, like, it would depend, like, if I see the animal that's, like, literally on the brink of death, then I would call for euthanasia. But if the animal is still, like, there's a very good chance that we can recover and set them out in the wild, why not, right? So it's hard, but judging from this, I don't think the animal is, like, more help. What? I mean, yes. Most agree. On December 12th, 2012, Johannes beached the shoreline of... How long is this thing? Beached on the shoreline of the Razendebol, a small uninhabited island in the Netherlands. Oh, it's the Razendebol. Over the course of just a few days, Johannes became the national symbol for helping a wild animal in need. Political parties, civil servants, scientists, and members of the societal organizations were engaged not only in debates but also in rescue and euthanasia attempts. All attempts failed, and the whale eventually died. Wait, what? So, not only in debates but also in the rescue and euthanasia. I don't fully understand. Like, they rescued the whale, but then it eventually died. But they didn't, like, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, pros: respect for life, priorities, the intrinsic value of life, and the duty to protect it wherever possible. Human responsibility: uphold the belief that humans have moral obligation to rectify harm done by to nature, especially since many environmental causes or issues are human caused. The cons: prolonged suffering. Yeah, the whale may suffer more during the prolonged rescue attempt and ultimately fails. Ineffectively use of resources, diverting substantial resources to an uncertain outcome could be, yeah. So again, like in this case, but then again, like, it's going to be hard to just call it, right? Like, you would need to bring over someone that's an expert in this field, but by that time you're like just waiting, right? So it's a little bit hard to call, but okay. Oh. Well, knowing me, this is going to end splendidly. This, like, people are going to think I'm controversial in my opinion, but there are going to be people that agree with me. This train is going to kill 5 civilians. Will you pull the lever to redirect it to 1 civilian? Yes, I would, because I'm, again, a pragmatic person. And I think 1 life is less valuable than 5 lives. And even if that's going to be like the point of this one is, like, if you're pulling lever now, you're actively taking the life of a person. But in my opinion, the bystander effect, where you do nothing, is also, even though you're technically not doing anything, the fact that you have the ability to do something, I find that you're also guilty for that. But again, like, I would just kill the 1 person, unfortunately. Oh, actually, you agree with 90% of players worldwide. Minimization of harm reduces the number of deaths from 5 to 1, aligns with the utilitarian principles of maximizing the greater good. Logical consistency may... Oh, I forgot to actually read the thing. Okay. May resonate with those who prioritize logical decision-making and emphasizing outcomes over intent. Yep. Direct responsibility. Actively intervening makes you the direct response for the death of 1 person, which can feel morally wrong to some. No. Moral slippery slope establishes a precedent where sacrificing individuals for the greater good could be seen as unacceptable. In other scenarios, raise ethical concerns. This child is drowning. And I'm just, like, walking casually. A man is passing by, sees a child drowning. He's just going to continue on. He is capable of. He's a capable swimmer and would be able to save the child without putting himself at risk. However, he does not want to get his clothes wet and inconvenience himself. So he does nothing and walks by. The child drowns. Should this man be criminally charged in any way? Yes. The child was 14 years old. The man is not late for anything. Under no circumstances should you open the manhole. Which manhole? I don't know. Oh, this one. I cannot open it, damn it. Or this one. Anyway, like, I mean, in legal terms, they're technically not, you know, like, they're not, unless you, like, in my perfect world, there would be a law where you're obligated to, you know, save lives, as long as it doesn't put yourself at risk. Now, of course, we have the fire department and the police, and those technically take out that job for the average person, right? So you're not, like, if they come across the scene, they have to help. Where if you're like just a civilian, you're technically by law free to go. But I find that just the fact that if you're going to jump in, there's a very high likelihood that other people will also start to help. Where if you're just standing there and other people are like basically sheep, like if one sheep's over the dam or across the dam, more are going to follow. Of course, you're all alone here, but then how could we come to the point where we have to persecute them? So anyway, like, I think they should be persecuted, but under normal circumstances, they wouldn't. Get him, boys. We're going to leave the child there, but we're going to get him. Okay. In 2018, in Florida Park, a group of teenage boys, especially since his reasoning was just so dumb, like, I don't want to get my clothes wet, like, you could literally get them replaced, and you probably could potentially, even though you shouldn't do it for that, but you could potentially get a reward, which is like, well, sorry for the, if your clothes are damaged beyond repair or something, like, oh, well, thank you for saving a fucking life, right? In Florida Park, a group of teenage boys aged 14 to 19 stood by and laughed at Jamal Dunn drowned. They made no attempts to help him and did not contact any authorities. They faced no charges, and that's fucked up, right? Especially if it's on, like if there's on camera that are laughing and just standing by. Now, of course, they are, like, the 19 should have jumped in. The 14 I could maybe, but either way, it's in a Florida park, right? So there was no other people there. What? Anyway, like, I find this just so weird, but in a way it does make sense. But accountability for inaction. Holding the man accountable establishes that society values life and requires individuals to act in the face of preventable harm when there is no personal risk. Justice for the child provides some measure of justice for losing the child's life, emphasizing that negligence has serious consequences. Legal complexity, criminalization, inaction raises the question of where you draw the line. Yeah, but that's just like fucking lefties, like, crying about it. What degree of but also extreme right crying about it. But in an authoritarian society, but not the extreme of like Nazi Germany or Stalin, right? But just enough authority where you're saying, like, in the case of, like, I've played the game Frostpunk, where you're like the entire world is frozen over and you're the one in charge of the colony, and then there's going to be refugees coming in and all of this, and you have to make tough decisions. But in that case, like, I would, like, you get to decide laws, and I would go for laws where I'm saying, like, child labor, but it has to be safe, and they can learn on the job. When someone dies, instead of preserving the whole body, we put them in, like, because it's so cold, we can preserve the bodies, and then when we need to, we can extract organs, like, which is, like, that's just the most valuable thing, because in today's society, if you are getting in an accident, you would want, like, I mean, I'm personally, like, well, if I'm going to be dead, I'm dead, but there are a lot of people that really want to live, and you would really appreciate it if there's someone that chose to donate their organs. And typically there's a very small window where they can actually take out the organs and transplant them into the new person, and hopefully everything goes correctly. So if you make it by law, which actually in the Netherlands they did a couple of years ago, where you can still opt out of it, but technically everyone is now in the donor system. So if you get into an accident and there's no way to revive you, then they are going to take whatever they can to save another person or multiple people. Where if you're opting out, you're basically saying, nope, you cannot touch my body at all, and it has to go to the burial, or to what's even worse, like in the cremating the body, where it's like you're just literally burning everything. Like, you might as well have saved a couple of lives, right? But again, everyone to each their own. But criminalization inaction raises the question of whether to draw the line. Yeah, potential misuse. Laws enforcing intervention could be misapplied. Punishing people in situations where hesitation or inaction is due. Yeah, but like, that's why you would make. By that logic, you're saying like, well, if we have someone that, like, you're getting into an accident, whether it was intentional or not, like that has to be figured out by the courts and by the police, and right? But ultimately, you're saying like, well, if you're deliberately killing a person, that's the worst possible way, right? If it was unintentional, yes, you still killed a person, but so the penalty is significantly less. Now, of course, you would have to be very thorough to determine whether it, like, whether someone wants to get away with it. But ultimately, that's already what we have in our law system. So saying, well, you could, people could hesitate. Well, yeah, but if you have a good law system, then, right? Anyway, oh, we're back at the train. Huh. This train is going to hit you. There are 5 civilians on the left track. The lever system voice is automated, and you can redirect the train to the left. Do you say to the left if you say the command? Do you? Everyone has been drugged and cannot move. Why? Like, that just makes you a serial killer. You are still able to speak, and you're only the person here that knows about the lever voices. Yeah, I want to play a game. Like, fucking, no, I would kill myself. Well, first of all, like, I would want to die, but either way, I couldn't also morally bring myself to just take other lives where, again, by the same logic as before, 1 life is less valuable than 5. And the fact that this is just some kind of, like, right, let's say you're kidnapped by Jigsaw from Saw, right? And he put you on the track, you're still alive, but they're, like, all dozed off, and there's cameras recording you and stuff, so even if you get out, you're still screwed, right? So it just doesn't make any sense to me why you would run over them, unless you're a complete psychopath, sociopath, or narcissist, or just, something else going on. Yeah, like, this is the baffling to me, but I was also expecting it, because a lot of people are selfish. Minimization of harm. Sacrificing yourself saves 5 lives, which aligns. So this is the hypocritical thing, right? Where earlier, pretty much 80% said, yes, 1 life is more or less valuable than 5. So we're going to save the 5 lives. Where in this case, no, we're going to take the 5 lives. Like, that's just hypocritical. Minimization of harm. Sacrificing saves 5 lives, which aligns with the utilitarian goal of minimizing overall harm. Moral heroism. I mean, demonstrates selflessness and courage and value. I mean, that's a byproduct to me, but loss of self, prioritizing others' lives over your own negatives, the intrinsic value of your life, and may feel unjustified if you believe all lives are equally valuable. Yes. Also, you have to live with this decision the rest of your life. But if you're like, again, if you took this decision lightly, then you didn't care to begin with. unrealistic expectations establishes a precedent where individuals are expected to sacrifice themselves in extreme situations, which may be an unfair moral burden. Well, no. I mean, like, to a certain extent, but no. Okay. Hit the two. No. This car had a brake failure. Who should it hit? Well, you can just... Huh? You could just drive into the sidewalk. Or... You could kind of drive in between, or you could drive to the right side where all of them can still see what's going on, right? Like, they're not completely... Like, they have eyes and ears, right? Like, Jesus. Just honk your horn, right? Like, this car has a brake failure, who should it hit? Neither will see the car coming and they'll be able to react. However, whoever is hit will die for certain. Well, oh, 2 12-year-olds and 3 adults. Well, that's the difference, but... Okay, so we're getting into that. Well, in a logical aspect, it's like 12-year-olds have a lot more life in front of them than adults. There's also a higher chance there's still a lot of relatives that the children have that will be affected, and connection, like friends and stuff, and the adults probably less, right? So that, like, it's just one person more. So in that regard, it's only like a 30% difference in the amount of people you hit, but the effect that you have by hitting the children is bigger than the effect that you have on the adults. Also, the adults should be more aware of their surroundings than the children to begin with. And yeah, but still, like, I don't get why it's that like, oof. They're just casually walking by. What? We agree with 40% of the players worldwide. The children have more years ahead of them, potentially contributing to society and experience the fullness of life. Their families will not experience the great emotional trauma that comes with losing a child. Your choice results in a greater overall loss of life. It's just one adult extra. Taking more families will be devastated by the loss of loved ones. The adult, no. I mean, yeah, but likely have more life experience and expertise in various fields, and their deaths represent accumulated knowledge and contributes. But we're not living in a society where each, like the knowledge is that important. Like again, if we're going back to the Frostpunk scenario where, yes, every life is incredibly valuable, then you would want rather, like, if it's, again, like you have a scenario where children are in the coal mine, and it's like, yes, it's horrible to, like, you can try to save the children in the coal mine, or you can just cut off the coal mine because otherwise the entire population gets sick or whatever. But you're like, well, in that scenario, it's like we want to minimize the total loss of life, right? And adults can have, like, technically children, when they grow up, can have children, but we don't know if they can make it to the point, especially if the valuable knowledge gets lost. But, like, again, this is too black and white, but... Chicken. It's a chick. It's a trolley problem maniac. She's calling herself Dr. Trolley Problem and is hitting the world with another classic conundrum. She says, if you don't pull the lever, the train will run over one person. If you do pull the lever, the trolley will divert into a 1,000-mile track with a person at the end of it. A crew on board will systematically switch out every piece of the original trolley with a replacement part, so the trolley which you diverted really... What? If you don't pull the lever, the train will run over one person, which is here. If you do pull the lever, the trolley will divert into a 1,000-mile track with a person at the very end of it, right? A crew on board of the train systematically switched out every piece of the original trolley with a replacement part. Oh, so did the trolley you diverted really kill the man in that in that scenario? Both potential victims are equal in age and have a similar life circumstances. The crew on the train are working for Dr. Trolley Problem. She seems to have acquired a sort of cult following. It is not in doubt that the train will hit the person at the end of the 1,000-mile trek if you do pull the lever. There's nothing that authorities can do to stop. I mean, yes, in that case, if literally every single part is replaced somehow while the train is running, right, including the wheels and all the other mechanisms, then technically it's not the same train as, but it's like the also the dilemma with when you replace one plank on or one board on a boat, then at which point does it become a new boat, right? Or at which point is it no longer the boat that originally? But I would say that this would make you, like again, this would be inaction, and this would be action, but either way, one person is going to die, guaranteed. The only thing that you're doing is deciding which one gets done. So in logical sense, this would make you the least guilty, at least in my logic. At the same time, by inaction, I mean, technically this would also make you guilty. This would actually, like, it depends, right? Like, if you're looking at, like, you're literally kidnapped by no, I guess you don't have to do anything, but yeah, in this case you do nothing, because this is an action that you're taking, but this, like, this one is like this is both against my like my setup, but also against their own setup. I mean, technically, like in this specific circumstance, I think doing nothing would mean that you're doing the least harm. This is just kind of more a selfish way to kind of, but then again, both are basically your mind saying, I'm not guilty in this scenario, right? Where you're saying, I didn't take any action, I'm not guilty. Where if you pull the lever, you're like, well, it's not the same train as me, and I didn't have a choice to begin with. So again, no, in that case, I would pull the lever because, again, I didn't really have a choice to begin with. I don't know, but I would just pull the lever. Because there's also more of a chance that they get saved somehow, because it takes a long time before they even get there, where this one is just so close. So immediate harm minimization saves a person on the original track adhering to the principle of preventing immediate harm. Indirect responsibility introduces ambiguity about whether you or the ship of Theseus-style transformed train is responsible for the death at the end of the 1,000-mile trek, potentially alleviating personal guilt. Certainty of that ensures that the individual death of another individual, making you complicit in choosing who dies. I mean, you would also be complicit here, but moral gymnastics creates an ethical justification based on abstract arguments about responsibility, identity of the train, which may feel intellectually dishonest. I mean, this has the most potential for a positive outcome, or at least whether it's for you or the individuals on the track. Okay, let's see. A madman who has threatened to explode several bombs in crowded areas has been apprehended. Unfortunately, he has already planted the bombs and they are scheduled to go off in a short time. It is possible that hundreds of people may die. The authorities cannot make him divulge the information, the location of the bombs by conventional methods, and he refuses to say anything. Will you have him be tortured to have him divulge the information? Torture is illegal, of course, but high-level officials argue that it's warranted in desperate situation. I mean, again, here we go into, like, I mean, this is like, again, this is moral dilemma, right? Because, like, again, like, I would be in pretty much Like in like 90% of the cases or even more, I'm absolutely against torture. Um, the only exception, but again, like the thing here is we have to be somehow 100% sure that he's not even making it up, right? Because if he made it up and you're torturing him, like, then it's not only unjustified and unethical, but it's also not going to result in the thing that you're trying to solve, right? Or like, let's say he didn't even have, there are no bombs, and you're just torturing him, and then eventually you have to let him go, and then like the story gets out that you tortured him and all of that, and or you just kill him and then like try to avoid, but that just makes you more guilty than he was to begin with. So if we know 100% certain, yeah, it's possible. Madman has threatened to explode several, so no, we don't torture him because we don't know for 100% certain that he's done anything. Now, of course, if we somehow know he has bombs, and let's say we have actually identified the bombs, and it's just a matter of somehow we cannot, if we disarm one bomb, then it sets off all the other bombs or something. So we have to find a way to stop that. And then I would... Hold on. I wouldn't necessarily torture them, but at the same time, I would be more... I would find a decision, if it came to that, more... like... How do you say that? I wouldn't torture him, but... yeah. Aww. Oh, Jesus, that was loud. Most disagree. Respect for human rights upholds the principle that torture is never acceptable, maintaining moral integrity and adherence to ethical standards. Preservation of justice avoids undermining the justice system and its commitment to humane treatment, even for criminals. Yeah, so again, there's a bunch of hypocrites here. Failure to save lives, choosing inaction would result in the deaths of many innocent people, which might outweigh the moral cost of torture. Yes, but we didn't know for sure. Moral responsibility for inaction. Allowing preventable harm may be seen as morally equivalent of causing harm. Making a decision, but again, like I've explained my point in this, but I think like in this case, there's no reason to just... I mean, technically he shouldn't be threatening about it in the first place. But again, like, it depends. Like, if it's by law that we're saying, this thing is allowed to torture, then yes, but you are the main captain of a crew lost at sea, who have been without food for 7 days and water for 5. All crew members are in a bad way. But worst off is a 70-year-old cabin boy. He is barely conscious, if indeed he is conscious at all. In your desperation, you consider cannibalism. Considering the fact that the cabin boy is likely going to die whatever happens, but if you kill him, which is the best way ensuring his blood would be in a fit state to drink, there is a chance that you could all hold out until rescue arrives. Do you murder him, or do you take the chances and hope rescue is imminent? Well, this would be a decision that you've already kind of... I mean, if you're smart about it, you've already kind of discussed with each other before it gets to that point. You are drifting around the ocean more than 1,000 miles from land. Your comrades back home know you are lost, but you have no idea if rescue is coming. You're kicking yourself for not bringing your chest set to the voyage. But yeah, like, again, if you're in such a situation where things are bad and they're only going to get worse, you should discuss what you're going to do if things really go south. Like, let's say, whoever of us gets sick or becomes, like, when, like, let's say someone gets injured and we cannot, like, let's say you're climbing mountains and it's cold and stuff and you have to drag this body along, if you all agree we're going to do everything we can to make it out with all of us, then of course it would be incredibly wrong to murder them. Now, if you've agreed, like, whoever gets, in a state where we practically cannot even, like, we cannot afford to help them, or we have no way to help them, or we risk the entire group for just one or two individuals, and you've agreed that then, the group is allowed to, basically do those things, then you murder him. So I would, in that scenario, have discussed it, and if it came down to me lying there, I would be fine with it. Of course, you do your best to make it as smooth as possible, but at the same time, like, we could hold out for like another day, right? But then again, also the fact that we have to make a fire on board, because if we're eating raw flesh, first of all, that's like already, like, it's already going to be disgusting. The blood can be like somewhat tasty because it's like irony and like iron in it, and I mean, I don't know if you've ever cut yourself and tasted your blood, or if you're a vampire, it tastes pretty good. But so that would be the least of your issues. But with eating human flesh, also you have the chance to develop certain brain diseases, and just your mental state is just going to deteriorate anyway because you're eating another human. And you have to live with that for the rest of your life, and maybe you even puke it all out because you're disgusted by it, and then it was all for nothing. So again, like, but in the scenario that we have literally no other choice, then yeah, unfortunately, 58% agree. In 1884, hold on a second. In 1884, this exact scenario happened to the crew of an English yacht in Mignonette, who were shipwrecked in a storm some 1,600 miles from home. Two of the three others on the boat decided to kill and eat a cabin boy, which allowed them to hold out for rescue. Although the public were largely sympathetic, the two crew members responsible were still found guilty. Murder was a capital offense. However, a special verdict was made where their sentence were committed to a 6-month prison sentence. I think that's fair. Because, yes, they still murdered someone, but the circumstances are, and you have to make sure that they're not completely psychopath or cannibals from now on. So, survival of the group maximizes the chance of saving multiple lives at the expense of one who is already on the brink of death. Minimization of suffering in the cabin boy is likely to die soon. Ending in his life quickly may prevent prolonged suffering and provide the crew a chance to survive. Violation of human dignity. Killing the cabin boy reduces him to the means of an end. Violating his inherent dignity as a person. Taboo and psychological impact of cannibalism engaging. Like, I'm literally every single time I'm describing all of what's going to be said again, more or less. But anyway, I like it. Wait, now I don't know what they're. Oh my god, there's multiple. Okay, so there's a 1 in 5. Wait. It's Dr. Trolley Problem back again with another crazy scenario. The train is going to run over 5 civilians, or you can pull the lever and it will redirect it to 1 civilian. However, there's a catch. Further down the track, of the 1 civilian lies another trolley problem, operated by another person. You do not know what the person controlling that trolley problem will do if you redirect the train to them. The person down the track has a classic 5 or 1 trolley problem. There are no additional trolley problems to track after them. But these scenarios are getting more and more convoluted. You worry for the world if Dr. Trolley Problem continues to be left unchecked. So in this case, by the logic that, or by the knowledge that we have from the very first one, the majority said they would kill only one person instead of the 5. So by that logic, I can count on it, on that, like there's a 4 in 5 chance, so 80% chance that only 2 lives get taken in the scenario. At max, 6 lives get taken. Whereas this pad, only, like, the only difference in that scenario is 1 life. Where in this state, I would be responsible for taking 5 lives, where in this state, I would be at least responsible for 1 life. Technically, you could also say at least 2 lives. But in doing so, I'm at least saving 3 lives, where they have to make the choice to save 4 lives, or, you know, right? So this is the best scenario in all of them. Especially by my earlier logic, where I'm valuing 1 life as less than, or I'm valuing 1 life, yeah, as less than. Oh my god, you're a bastard. That doesn't make sense to the thing that you said before. But either way, again, I would have wished if I could have looked at what his, like, overall, I don't know, standard one's 5, yeah. So he did the 20% thing, which is weird. Immediate harm reduction reduces the immediate death from 5 to 1, aligning with the utilitarian. Yeah, you can read this if you want to, but I've already kind of discussed that, right? Why is there a car? You know someone committed a murder in the... Why is there a car on the roof? That goes nowhere. Or is this just like some kind of police logo or something? I don't know. You know someone committed a murder in the past, but was let go due to lack of evidence. They are now being accused of a separate murder, but you know they're innocent of this one. Since you happen to spot him, to spot them elsewhere from the crime scene at the time of the crime, no one else knows you saw them. Do you come forward and provide them with an alibi? They will be sentenced with murder if you don't come forward. Well, that's even weirder, because why do I know that they murdered someone and I didn't come out for that? So I'm also guilty in this scenario. So in that sense, you would not want them to go to jail because they're going to rat you out. Or you want them to go to jail to prevent them from ever leaking that you know anything. But then, anyway, like, why do I know that they murdered someone? Or am I part of the police thing? If that's the case, and even if it's not the case, I think it's your obligation to just, you know, if you're a witness, then you have to come forward. Now, the only exception in this case, and the problem that I have with it, is that they're not sentenced for something that they absolutely did. So technically, they committed 1 murder they're not charged for, and they're accused of another murder that they didn't do. But that would probably sentence them to the same thing that they were supposed to be sentenced for. But that would also leave the actual person free to go. So that's an issue that I have. So what the question is, whether or not I come forward, right? Do you come forward? Yeah. So I think I would, but I would also, like, you have to also mention that, like, I would personally mention in my, but that would, like, it also, like, again, why do I know that they murdered someone? I would include in my confession that, like, they have been, because in that trial, even if they're, like, you're putting out information about another case, they cannot be sentenced for that murder in this specific trial. So you're at least saying, like, hey, this needs to be looked into, but this person is definitely innocent in this case. So I would come forward. The door didn't open. Upholding justice prevents the conviction of an innocent person, adhering to the principle that justice should be impartial and based on truth. Reduction of future harm. Convicting the wrong person may allow... Yeah, exactly, I said it before. Protecting a guilty person by providing an alibi. Yeah. So yeah, basically what I said. Haha, we got her. Holy shit. This is just to mention there's crossfire go. Oh wait, I clicked something. Oh no, it's what I didn't even get to. A very large train is headed towards the special force. If not stopped, the train will kill around 20 officers. I wish it gave me a little bit more time to read the first thing, but if not stopped, the train will kill around 20 officers and cause millions of pounds of damages. However, you could call in a precision airstrike, which redirects the train into a house, causing the death of a family. Oh, this is that level that we saw before. Where I glitched into that area. Anyway, however, you could call the precision airstrike, which redirects the train into a house, causing the death of a family of 5. You are not at risk either way. Do you call in the airstrike? I don't know what I'm too late for, but whatever. Why is there crossfire going on? Like literally, if he fires, he's either shooting into this guy, or he's shooting this guy, or he's shooting her. Then these, again, like they're going to kind of shoot into shields. Like this one is kind of aiming like here. And, this is like so unprofessional. And why are you all the way there? And you're like, and this guy, what? Anyway, like, okay, so, anyway, oh no, it's too late. A very large train is headed to, like, how does this even work? Am I hallucinating here? I mean, yes, I guess that still holds true, right? But like, what the hell? And it's not going to do this? That's so loud. You agree with 60%? Again, I didn't read the first thing, so that might have changed my decision. But the decision aligns with utilitarian principles of minimizing overall harm, as the loss of 5 civilian lives might be considered less impactful than the death of 20 military personnel and resulting in financial destruction. Preventing the greater financial loss, reducing... Yes, so that still aligns with my principles. Collateral, even though, like, again, it's very horrible, but these people also have families, you know, but then again, their job is to put themselves at risk, so collateral damage to innocents. The deaths of 5 innocent civilians brings a heavy moral cost, especially as they're killed by not direct intent, but as a result of redirecting the threat. Violation of the principle of non-combatant immunity. Redirecting the train intentionally towards civilian houses undermines the moral principle that civilians are protected from harm in warfare. So yeah, like, I didn't... If I would have probably changed my decision if I read the first thing, but I didn't. But, like, looking at it from that perspective, yes. But in terms of numbers and, like, because I'm also looking at it from, like, if you're saving a military personnel or an officer, they have the chance to save more lives down over time. Where if they're all taken out, not only do they have to somehow be replaced, which puts certain things at risk, or right. Also, the cost of, like, apparently it costs more to have all the helicopters and right. But also, like, yes, like, technically their obligation is to protect civilians and stuff, so it's like, I wish I had time to read the first one, but whatever. More to come in the future, yes. Wishlist the sequel on Steam, I will. Thanks for playing, Redbot. I am doing that later. go back to the off. Or actually, no, I'm going to do that now. Okay, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you would have done in these scenarios, or what you think of them, or if you have any other, like if you actually have your own dilemma for me to cover. Please leave it down in the comments below. If you enjoyed yourself, leave a like, and hopefully I will see you in the next one or in the previous episodes. Bye bye.